In the 6th year after I shielded my husband from a bullet, his affection for me had ceased. When I expressed my pain, he embraced his new lover and ordered me to leave, saying, "If you're ill, seek a physician. Why disgust me?" Yet, when I was truly nearing death, he knelt before every deity, imploring me not to depart. In the 10th year of my love with Ethan, a physician informed me of my impending death. The bullet lodged in my brain had long been compressing my nerves, and without its removal, I would not survive the winter. However, the surgery's success rate was below 20%. That was acceptable, death might be preferable. My life, it seemed, had reached its limit. I telephoned Ethan to remind him to visit his grandfather tomorrow, but the background was noisy, filled with a woman's delicate moans. Ethan responded nonchalantly, "I happen to need a satisfactory servant here. Lily, come over and please me, and then I'll accompany you to the hospital." Ethan had always known how to manipulate me. Merely mentioning grandfather ensured his objectives were met. I quietly agreed, with death approaching, what was the point of fleeting pride? Upon seeing me, Ethan appeared surprised. Understandably so, I am typically stubborn and proud, always opposing him. Yet today, I was compliant. At his beckoning, I came, resembling a submissive lapdog. A beautiful woman sat in Ethan's lap, striking and elegant, with dimples appearing when she smiled. She scrutinized me, visibly disappointed, remarking, "So this is the older sister." I imagined some ethereal figure, but now I see she's rather ordinary. I recognized her, Sophia. Ethan's romantic escapades were numerous, he changed women as frequently as clothing. Yet she had endured the longest. Rumors suggested they had met each other's parents, indicating an impending marriage. Everyone mocked me, the long-suffering wife, soon to be discarded. Ethan affectionately tapped her nose with a bent finger, saying, "Naturally, she can't compare to you." Sophia beamed with pride, declaring, "Fortunately, Ethan met me, I'm far more presentable than her." Ethan's brothers were all present. They once respectfully addressed me as sister-in-law. Now, they eagerly anticipated my humiliation. Ethan tossed out a bottle of liquor, instructing, "Finish it in one go. Tomorrow, I'll accompany you to see your grandfather." I replied, "I can't drink, the doctor has forbidden alcohol." After the bullet lodged in my brain, the doctor provided numerous precautions: avoid significant emotional fluctuations, no late nights, no alcohol, dozens of rules I couldn't fully recall, yet Ethan knew them by heart. Previously, he meticulously adhered to medical advice. During social engagements, he would stand before me, shielding me from drinks. Onlookers laughed, calling him a doting husband. They envied my fortune. Who else could claim the privilege of having Ethan, a prominent figure in Beijing's elite circle, protect them so? Regrettably, within a few short years, circumstances had utterly changed. Ethan smirked, his demeanor casual, yet his eyes lacked any mirth. "What's wrong with a sip? Will it kill you?" he taunted. "Lily, stop harping on that bullet in your head. If you truly die, will my life suffice as compensation?" Observing his resolute expression, I suddenly laughed. "Very well, keep your word. Ethan, if I die, you must join me in death." Upon hearing this, Sophia rolled her eyes, scoffing, "Is your life comparable to Ethan's? Yours is worthless." Ethan regarded me with amusement and readily agreed. Sophia sulked, unwilling to accept it. He patiently placated her. "Beyond her title as Mrs. Gu, she has nothing. You, apart from being my wife, have everything." He would grant her everything: money, love, and, most precious of all, his genuine heart. I consumed an entire bottle of liquor in one breath. My empty stomach, abruptly filled, left me nauseated. Covering my mouth, I fled the private room. Behind me, Sophia pouted coquettishly, "Ethan, aren't you going to check? Your sallow-faced wife is retching." He teased her, "If it were you vomiting, I'd sound gongs and drums, summoning all to celebrate. Hers, I care not for. My heart, too, is made of flesh." No matter how often I hear such words, they still wound me. I dashed to the restroom, clutching the toilet, and vomited profusely. As I unsteadily rose, someone approached. It was Victor, Ethan's sworn rival. That fellow Ethan treasures you like the apple of his eye. How could he bear to let you come to a place like this? His hand rested on my waist, persistently rubbing. Nausea surged again. I attempted to push him away, but dizziness overwhelmed me, rendering my efforts futile. A furious roar seemed to echo from afar. Victor! Who permitted you to touch her? You've got some nerve. Ethan charged forward, knocking Victor to the ground with a single kick. Ethan wielded power and influence, with extensive connections. He possessed numerous means to gradually eliminate Victor. Yet, he opted to act personally, employing the most primal and direct approach, striking relentlessly, attacking without defense, in a reckless, life-risking manner. I collapsed to the ground, clutching my head, wishing he would stop. The pain was excruciating, as though someone were incessantly drilling into my skull with a machine. At that moment, Sophia rushed in, weeping and shouting, "Stop fighting! Stop it! Ethan, Victor didn't harm me last time. I'm fine. Stop fighting." Oh, it was for her. No wonder Ethan was so enraged. I had thought, how could it possibly be for me? Ethan ceased loving me long ago. Victor's friend charged with a beer bottle, and Sophia swiftly blocked it with her arm. A loud crash ensued as glass shattered across the floor, mingled with Sophia's blood. Ethan, panic-stricken and visibly distressed, exclaimed, "Why were you so foolish? I could handle it myself, why shield me?" Sophia, delicate and pained, cried out, "I just didn't want you hurt. Ethan, it hurts so much." Ethan lifted her horizontally, declaring, "To the hospital." Yes, the hospital. I couldn't die yet. Grandfather remained there, awaiting my visit. A fierce will to survive compelled me to cling tightly to Ethan's pant leg. Gritting my teeth with effort, I managed to utter, "Ethan, my head hurts." Holding Sophia, he looked down at me coldly. "If you're sick, see a doctor, don't disgust me. Stop gazing at me like that, pretending you still love me, it's utterly revolting." He forcibly stepped away, dislodging my grasp. I heard Sophia sobbing in his arms, "Ethan, will it scar?" "A scar would ruin my looks, I don't want one." Ethan comforted her patiently, his voice tender as if dripping with honey, "It won't. I'll secure the finest doctors and the best medicine, there'll be no scar. Sophia, rest now, when you awake, all will be well. Yet, Ethan, your true treasure is here, in agony, nearing death." The following day, Ethan still came to the hospital. Grandfather was frail, yet upon seeing him, he mustered a smile. Ethan sat by the bedside and gently inquired, "Why didn't you let me bring you?" "The company has been busy lately, but you and Grandfather are my priority." His acting was impeccable, as though he hadn't abandoned me at the bar the previous night. I cooed playfully, "You were busy so late yesterday, I wanted you to rest more." Ethan ruffled my hair, rose to fetch a fruit knife, and offered to peel me a pear. I adore pears. When our love was at its peak, he'd never slice them, insisting we share bites from the same fruit. I resisted, but he was adamant, pears mustn't be divided, lest we part. That seemed a distant memory now. After a brief sit, Grandfather stammered with effort, addressing Ethan, "Be good to Lily, for life, always be good to her." He had never spoken such words before. Over the years, despite our quarrels, tantrums, and mutual desire to destroy each other, we feigned deep love before Grandfather. We performed convincingly. He must have heard rumors, prompting suspicion of discord between Ethan and me. In Grandfather's presence, Ethan clasped my hand and solemnly vowed, "Grandfather, I assure you, I, Ethan, will cherish Lily for life. Should I fail, may lightning strike me dead." He spoke thus when I took the bullet for him, and again at our wedding. Yet he failed to uphold it, he deceived me. Only then did Grandfather, reassured, close his eyes and drift into sleep. Exiting the ward, Ethan directed his secretary to investigate who had entered Grandfather's room recently. Identify anyone who spoke out of turn, dismiss them all, no exceptions. The Gu Family Hospital attracts countless eager applicants, gossips are unworthy. Glancing at me, he coolly remarked, Sophia's injury seems to have lifted your spirits. Today, I unusually applied makeup. Last night, bar staff found me collapsed in the restroom and rushed me to a nearby hospital. My pallor was unnaturally stark, and fearing grandfather would notice, I used blush and lipstick. These details, I withheld from Ethan. I nodded affirmatively. I wish she'd been beaten to death. Ethan erupted in fury. Lily, you're just banking on having saved me once, aren't you? I warn you, curse her death again, and I'll ensure your grandfather dies in her stead. Such venomous words flowed effortlessly from Ethan. Staring into his eyes, I enunciated each word, if grandfather dies because of her, I'll drag her to hell with me. Ethan stormed off, sleeve flung in disdain. Subsequently, I remained at the hospital with grandfather. My own time was short. I needed to spend my final days with my loved one. When he slept, I did too, as if only in sleep could the pain subside. I dreamt of my childhood, perched on grandfather's shoulders as he ran through the mountains, repeating, "My darling, be happy, be happy." Grandfather, your darling can no longer find happiness. Awakening, tears rimmed my eyes. Grandfather had been watching me, for how long I couldn't tell. Seeing me stir, he gazed toward the door. I understood he wondered why Ethan hadn't visited in so long. He's busy, grandfather. I'll call him to come see you tomorrow. Ethan was occupied, escorting his beloved Sophia on a worldly tour. When I located him, he was aboard a cruise ship, teaching her pool amid a dazzling nightlife. Seeing me, Ethan was unsurprised. Here for your grandfather again? Isn't funding his care enough? Must I always visit him? This old man truly overestimates his importance. Lily, when will you seek me for something else? I stayed silent. Annoyed, Ethan produced a swimsuit from somewhere and tossed it to me. Pleasing me requires effort. Show me how far you'll go for your grandfather. After a moment's thought, I bent to retrieve it. Nestled in Ethan's arms, Sophia giggled delicately. Sister is so obedient, far less trouble than my Dowdo. When asked who Dowdo was, she roared with laughter, the dog Ethan and I raise. Ethan, too, seemed taken aback by my shift, yet he neither inquired nor commented, merely prolonging my torment. Raised by grandfather, he is my sole kin in this world. I wished for his peaceful departure and intended to endure until he was gone before following. Grandfather had endured enough widowed young, bereft of his child in middle age, and now terminally ill in his twilight years. I begged that he not outlive me. Thus, Ethan, I truly lacked the strength to continue our mutual torment. Leaving the pool room to change, I hadn't gone far when my wrist was seized. Ethan berated me, Lily, look at yourself, how base you are. I tell you to wear it, and you do. If I tell you to die, will you? Raising my eyes to him, I suddenly smiled, yes. Ethan faltered, his eyes reflecting shock and doubt. I pressed on, give me $1 billion, and I will. He sneered, $1 billion, your life is quite valuable. Gazing into his eyes earnestly, I said, then tell me, what's my life worth? Pay me, and I'll die, never again appearing to disgust you. Ethan frowned, speechless for a long while, his expression akin to regarding a madwoman. Lily, you're truly deranged. Do you think such words will stir my pity? Am I still so easily deceived? Ethan perpetually accused me of deceit, claiming my love was insufficient. Yet because of him, a bullet resided in my brain. Pain plagued me often, rain brought it, wind intensified it, even clear days ached. It struck upon waking, as if a relentless drill operated ceaselessly within my skull. I loved him so. Yet he refused to believe it, refused. Composing my smile, I said calmly, Ethan, let's divorce. Ethan's expression turned icy, his glare piercing. Lily, what's your true intent? To have the world mock me as ungrateful, abandoning my savior? Or do you think your grandfather has lived too long? I remained silent. He gripped my chin, eyes narrowed with impatience. Well? Speak. I merely sought to claim half his wealth in divorce, the thought of it going to other women enraged me. I wasn't so magnanimous. I'd rather donate or burn that money than let Ethan and his mistresses revel in it. Lily, I won't divorce you. Freedom comes only with your death. As long as you live, as long as your grandfather does, you're bound to me for life. Truth be told, Sophia is your stand-in. But Lily, you can't even outshine a substitute. Utterly useless. It matters not if you don't love me, I don't love you either. It's fine, soon, I'll truly be free. Ethan, I'll die because of you. What expression will you wear then? For reasons unknown, Ethan visited the hospital consecutively for days, delighting grandfather. He hadn't eaten in ages, but on Ethan's 6th visit, he unusually craved porridge. I hurriedly went downstairs to buy some. Upon returning, I found Sophia in a frenzy within the ward. Ethan, what have I done wrong? I'll change. Don't ignore me. Ethan tried dragging her out. Leave now, this isn't a place for your tantrums. But Sophia resisted, she'd been spoiled by him. Before grandfather, Sophia flung herself into Ethan's arms, clutching his waist, whining, I won't go. I won't. You haven't been with me lately, do you know how much I miss you? I saw grandfather trembling, his cloudy eyes brimming with tears as he looked at me. He knew he understood everything. Something pounded wildly in my head. I charged in, pulling Sophia toward the exit. She shrieked, let go. You're touching my wound. It hurts. Ethan, save me. Ethan seized my wrist. Lily. Don't overstep. Who allowed you to touch her? She's unlike those other women, she was injured saving me. Touch her again, and I'll end you. Ethan's expression was ferocious, as if he'd devour me. Sophia wept in his arms. I couldn't even muster tears. For months, I'd played a role, compromising and humbling myself, all to grant grandfather peace in passing. Yet they'd shattered it all. I hurled the plastic bag, shouting, get out. All of you, out. Scalding porridge drenched Sophia's head, reddening her face. Lily, how dare you? She seized the bedside Buddha statue and flung it at me. Pray to Buddha all you want, what's the use? The doomed will die. Buddha can't save your grandfather. If he saw you groveling to us, he'd wish for instant death. I watched helplessly as the statue struck the floor, its head breaking off. I couldn't catch it. That statue, I'd personally obtained for grandfather, climbing countless steps and kowtowing repeatedly. Day and night, I sat before it, burning incense and chanting sutras, securing it at last to safeguard grandfather. But now, the statue was broken, and grandfather would never recover. The taut string in my mind snapped abruptly. Unable to bear it, I lunged at her. Sophia shielded her head, fleeing. Ethan, save me. She's mad. Madness was good, oh, so good. Ethan, anguished, yanked my arm. Lily, stop. Sophia seized the chance to tug my hair, but I felt no pain. I wanted to smash her mouth. To make her pay. Taking Ethan was fine, I could relinquish him to her. But now, she aimed to kill my grandfather. How dare she? How dare she? Don't bully. Lily. Grandfather's faint plea was drowned by Ethan's roar. With effort, he extended a hand, striving to restrain them, to shield me. Until the monitor emitted a piercing alarm. I looked at grandfather until his last breath. He watched me, worried, his eyes unclosed in death. Doctors and nurses surged in. No heartbeat. Quick, defibrillator. Increase. Again. I felt detached from reality, as if they were distant. Only the machine in my head persisted, buzzing incessantly. I saw Ethan rush toward me in panic. Lily. Lily. What's wrong? Don't scare me. I looked down. Blood dotted the floor, one drop, then two, dripping ceaselessly. Ethan clutched me tightly, frantically wiping blood from my face. He screamed hoarsely, why are you bleeding? Lily, look at me. Don't close your eyes. You're not allowed to. He wept. When I awoke, Ethan was beside my bed, unshaven, eyes bloodshot, appearing as though he hadn't slept in days, utterly haggard. Seeing me stir, his face lit with joy, and he hastened to summon a doctor. I asked, "Where's grandfather?" Ethan stiffened, then replied, "He's sleeping in the next ward, Lily. When you're better, I'll take you to see him." His voice was soft, coaxing like one would a child. My expression remained calm. "Grandfather's dead, isn't he?" He paused, forcing a strained smile. "I'm not lying. If you don't believe me, I'll have the doctor confirm it, all right?" He'd conspire with the doctor to deceive me. Deception was his forte. "Grandfather's dead, killed by you and Sophia." Ethan fell silent, his pretense crumbling. I declared, "I want her to pay with her life." He remained mute. I sneered, "What? Can't bear it?" Ethan defended her, "Lily, it was an accident. Even without her, grandfather had at most a month left." That he could utter such words. I grew agitated, pounding the bed. Without her, would he have died so soon? At least he wouldn't have passed in such circumstances. Not with pain, regret, and worry. Ethan hurried to support me, grasping my hand with concern. "Don't get angry, the doctor said you mustn't." I shut my eyes, unwilling to face him. I once adored his face most, his eyes were the loveliest galaxy I'd beheld. Now, they only repulsed me. "How long can I live?" Pain crossed Ethan's face. "Don't say that. We'll live long together. Lily, you promised me we'd grow old side by side." I laughed as if I'd heard the grandest jest, unable to stand straight. Ethan urged me to stop. My emotional swings would pain my head and distress him. "Ethan, your wish is granted. I'm finally dying." He covered my mouth, pleading me to stop. I spat at him, "Get lost." He didn't flinch. "Grandfather's buried. When you're better, I'll take you to see him." The doctor noted my lack of will to live and noncompliance. Continuing thus, I wouldn't last the month. My poor condition precluded surgery, forcing it risked death on the operating table. Ethan begged me to accept injections, eat more, recover swiftly. He assembled the world's top neurosurgery team to stand by at the hospital, expending funds like water. Even his secretary couldn't bear it, saying, "Madam, Ethan does love you. We all witness his efforts for you. Such a proud man, he begged Dr. Zhang again for you." The secretary gritted her teeth, as if reluctant, adding, "This time, Dr. Zhang was harsher than before, but Ethan endured it for you." That was 6 years ago. When I took the bullet for Ethan and slipped into a coma, he, heartbroken and desperate, sought Dr. Zhang, a globally renowned neurosurgery maestro. Dr. Zhang bore a long-standing grudge against the Gu family. Yet, to save me, Ethan knelt before him, the esteemed head of Beijing's Gu family, humbling himself to an enemy for a woman. Some ridiculed his weakness, others praised his devotion, and many envied me, asserting Ethan truly loved me to his core, casting aside dignity and pride for my sake alone. The secretary extolled Ethan extravagantly, tirelessly recounting his affection. I uttered nothing, my heart unmoved. There was little worth living for. Once improved enough to move, I resolved to confront Sophia. Nearing death, taking one with me seemed fair. Seeing my despair, Ethan fretted helplessly, at a loss. He pleaded, "Lily, can't you cooperate with treatment? I'll kowtow if I must." My sole demand was, I want Sophia dead, to atone for grandfather's life. Ethan, incensed, retorted, "Must you torment me so? I've ended things with her. What more do you want? Must I die for your satisfaction? Lily, you're just exploiting my love. Now you're content you can run to that wretch Adrian, can't you?" Adrian, a name I hadn't heard in ages. Ethan stared at me, coolly saying, "Surprised? You thought you'd hidden it perfectly, but I've known all along, haven't I?" His gaze darkened, teeth gritted in what seemed hatred or disgust, yet also pain and confusion. A man of brilliance, commanding all he desired, how could he fall short of the wretch he derided? "Lily, I say die. Once dead, you'll forever be my pure ideal." Just as you eternally recall Adrian, I'll always remember you. Ethan threatened viciously, but Sophia, whom you despise most, will be your finest replacement. All you possess now, I'll bestow upon her. Adrian was my former benefactor, the one who enabled my escape from the mountains. I'd pictured him often, perhaps a revered teacher, gentle and refined, crafting those inspiring words. Or maybe a seasoned middle-aged man, steady and kind, who, after thorough consideration, chose to sponsor me. Yet, upon reaching university and tracking him down, I was stunned to find him a frail youth, wheelchair-bound with paralyzed legs. Gravely ill, he soon passed away. Later, I met and fell for Ethan, only to learn unexpectedly that Adrian was his half-brother. They were indeed alike, similar in appearance, habits, and interests. Ethan disliked him, so I seldom spoke of this past. I never imagined it would spark such a misunderstanding. For Adrian, I felt respect, admiration, gratitude, even a daughter's reverence for a father. But never romantic love. I asked, "So, you treated me this way because of Adrian?" Ethan said nothing, but his demeanor revealed all. He simply refused to admit he'd long believed himself Adrian's substitute. Proof? On what grounds do you accuse me? Ethan produced photos. Lily, you loved him, so why didn't you follow him in death? Why entangle me? In the images, Adrian and I appeared close. My voice rasped. You believed it just because of some angled photos? He transformed my life, my benefactor. He was dying. Was it wrong to visit him? Why didn't you ask me? Are you mute? I'd thought my heart impervious to further pain. Yet I still felt wronged, regretful, found it laughable, absurd. I laughed, tears spilling. For years Ethan and I had tormented each other, wielding words as weapons, yearning to wound deeply. Once lovers, now enemies, brimming with hate. Yet the cause was a colossal misunderstanding. Ethan, our current state, it's all your fault. Your suspicion and doubt, your folly and arrogance, your narrowness and prejudice. Ethan, I hate you, you've ruined me. My entire life, destroyed by you. I wish I'd never met you. Never taken that bullet for you. Let you die then. At least I wouldn't suffer, I'd be far happier, I could live a long life. I once sought reconciliation with Ethan. About a year ago, on our anniversary, I prepared a lavish meal, pleading for clarity, begging him to explain why his love abruptly ceased. But he said, "Love's gone, it's gone, no reason needed. I tire of the old, crave the new, can't I find you repulsive? Look at elite families which aren't strategic unions, each to their own. Lily, being my wife is a blessing from countless past lives. Don't demand more." My heart turned to ash. I suggested divorce. But Ethan seized my throat, ravaging me in a frenzy. Afterward, calming, he spoke condescendingly, "I won't divorce you yet, everyone knows you saved me. Divorcing now, what would people think of me? Lily, be a dutiful wife. Whatever I do, you endure, you married me. Otherwise, your grandfather's illness, you can't sustain it. My dreams of love, my radiant, eternal life, all ruined by him." The secretary said that after leaving the hospital, Ethan smoked all night, slapped himself repeatedly, and wailed helplessly like a child. She implored, "Madam, Ethan knows his error, forgive him. For you, he hasn't slept in a week. Even his robust health can't withstand this, the Gu Empire depends on him." I shut my eyes, silent. For days, guilt kept Ethan away. At last, I slipped from the hospital. I'd inquired Sophia, a third-year student, alternated between school and the mansion Ethan bought her. I waited on her usual route. Soon, I spotted her. Sophia, strikingly beautiful and eerily like me, stood out in the crowd. Her condition was poor, her demeanor dazed, just as I'd hoped. Lowering my hat's brim, I passed her. As I prepared to act, someone gripped my wrist, shoving me into a car. The acrid scent of tobacco enveloped me. Ethan sighed, "Why did you sneak out alone? Do you know how worried I was?" His tone mingled helplessness with boundless indulgence, as if we'd never harbored hatred. Sophia seemed to sense something, glancing over. Spotting Ethan, she wept with joy, pounding the window. Ethan, Ethan, you've finally come to see me, haven't you? Ethan spared her not a glance, merely ordering the driver, drive. Sophia chased the car, sobbing, Ethan. Ethan, I know I was wrong. Look at me, please, just look at me. She fell, utterly disheveled, yet swiftly rose to pursue. Even as her knees bled, she pressed on, unmindful, until she stumbled again, unable to continue. Ethan didn't deign to look at her, saying to me, Lily, I'll handle it, she'll pay for her actions. Only then did I notice the knife in my hand had slashed his arm. Blood beaded rapidly, staining his pristine shirt, yet he voiced no pain, stubbornly holding me, soothing softly, a mere substitute 100 of her can't rival one you. You shouldn't dirty your hands, we've a lifetime ahead. I refused. Clutching the fruit knife, I aimed to exit. When Ethan blocked me, I stabbed him. He gripped the blade, his right hand used for contracts and handshakes torn open by my strike. Ethan winced, brows furrowed in pain, yet coaxed patiently, good girl, Lily, let go. Weak already, I soon lost the knife to him. I told him to scram, biting his arm in fury until my mouth tasted of rust, unrelenting. Yet Ethan refrained from harsh words. Lunatic. A lunatic feigning devotion. Ethan returned me to the hospital, tightening supervision. I sporadically called the police or raged, watching him scramble to manage my chaos. His misery was my delight. At last, rubbing his temples in exhaustion, he pleaded, give me a little more time, please? Lily, be good, will you? These days, he stayed by me constantly, working from the hospital. He wasted away rapidly, as if he, not I, bore a terminal illness. Soon after, the secretary showed me a news report, a female student, racing at night, collided with a truck. After prolonged efforts, her life was saved, but she was fully paralyzed, only her head mobile. Comments below lamented a young life's ruin, others gloated. Who told her to race? Wealth isn't everything. I heard she's a rich man's mistress, the car wasn't hers. Serves her right. Ruining marriages, death's too good for her. Pity the truck driver. Whether man-made or fate mattered not, Sophia would spend her remaining years bedridden. A gifted dancer, radiant, she'd vowed to dedicate her life to dance. Alas, she'd never dance again, even movement was a luxury. For her, this was likely worse than death. I rejoiced, eating a hearty bowl of rice and playing good luck 4 days. I visited grandfather's grave, kowtowing thrice. During an episode, pain drove me to writhe on the ground, longing to smash my head against a wall, yet I shed no tears. During treatment, my arm bruised purple with needle marks, but I didn't cry. Yet, seeing grandfather's silent monochrome photo on the tombstone, I wept uncontrollably, nearly fainting. The secretary said, on his burial day, Ethan knelt in the rain all night, begging forgiveness. By morning, the rain ceased. Madam, he must have forgiven Ethan. I cursed him as deranged. What did weather have to do with grandfather? Ethan kowtowed repeatedly, bruising his forehead. He admitted his wrongs, vowing at the grave to treat me well for life. He beseeched grandfather to bless my recovery. A staunch materialist, Ethan later knelt before deities, hands clasped devoutly, praying, may Buddha ensure my wife overcomes this trial. I offer half my life to share with her, may Buddha grant this. With the hospital's meticulous care, my condition stabilized significantly, granting me strength for other pursuits. I told Ethan, I want a divorce and half your wealth. Grandfather was gone, I feared nothing now. If Ethan resisted, I'd sue. He urged me not to fuss. No divorce, ever. Lily, even in death, you're a ghost. He agreed to give me the money. The next day, Ethan summoned a lawyer to draft a property division. I wanted only cash, no shares, no real estate, just money. Ethan relinquished nearly all his liquid assets to me. All advised against it, branding me a lunatic, an ungrateful beast. Yet he persisted, leading them to deem him mad too, squandering the Gu family's generational wealth for a woman. My account swelled with a vast sum. I scoffed, so my life's worth this much? Ethan's eyes reddened, lips trembling. My fault on the cruise, I shouldn't have said that. Lily, I was blinded by anger. I refused his drivel, telling him to hush. In my name, I donated it all, building hope schools, aiding impoverished students, advancing the Spring Bud plan. Regrettably, I wouldn't see these children mature and succeed. I never forgot my origins. Over years, I supported many children, hoping they'd escape the mountains like me, glimpsing a broader world. Monthly, I received their handwritten letters, drawings, and crafted gifts. Such fine children. Now, Ethan brought them all to the hospital, urging them to weep. Mama Lily, get well soon. Ethan knew me too well. He once understood how to wound me deepest. Now, he strove to spark my will to live, to heal me. He had the children encircle me, sharing future aspirations. Their young faces bore grand dreams. Ethan asked, Lily, don't you want to see them grow up? When you're well, I'll take you to their homes. We'll sponsor more, however many you wish. Later, we'll have our own, a son, then a daughter. When they're grown and can helm the GU enterprise, we'll retire and travel the world. Such a future I'd envisioned often. Now, any tie to Ethan repulsed me. Later, I fainted again. The doctor insisted surgery could wait no longer. The bullet must be removed soon, or death was certain. Before entering the operating room, I told Ethan, recall your words, if I die, you join me. Ethan wept, agreeing. Then he struck his mouth, insisting, you'll be fine, the surgery will succeed. We won't die, we'll live long, grow old together. Perhaps my fate wasn't to perish. Despite the slim odds, I survived. On the surgery's success, Ethan lit Beijing's skies with fireworks for 3 days, celebrating my rebirth. I recuperated for half a year. Once nearly recovered, I resolutely divorced Ethan. He resisted, desperately begging me to stay. He couldn't fathom why, despite his efforts, I wouldn't forgive him. I sneered, grandfather's gone, my mind's healed. What leverage do you have left? What's worth staying for? Post-divorce, I claimed another portion of Ethan's wealth, using it to build hope schools where I became principal. He sought me often, always leaving empty-handed. Later, I heard the GU Corporation faced a grave crisis, its value plummeting. Ethan, overwhelmed, ceased visiting for a long while. His fate, life or death, concerned me no longer. I'd found life's greater purpose. I would personally uplift my children, witnessing them all soar beyond the mountains.